to expand their family leadership capacity for national transformation. Very welcome, ladies and gentlemen who are watching us today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are watching us from around the world. This is the Inspired Family Leader Program with Samuel A. Bakutana, your host, a certified executive coach, an award-winning leadership consultant, a global speaker and author, the CEO of Inspired Leaders International, which is an international leadership development firm that empowers leaders to transform nations, and your provincial Fathers Union president. Something happened recently. A new proposed marriage bill 2024 was brought to the parliament, to the floor of the parliament of Uganda. And according to the information that we've been receiving, this bill is a private member bill by type, and it was introduced on the 3rd of October 2024, the mover being the Honorable Sarah Acheng Opendi, the Member of Parliament for Tororo District, and it was assigned to the Committee on Gender, Labor and Social Development. It is said that this bill, this proposed bill, has an objective of reforming, repealing and consolidating the legal framework that is governing the marriage in Uganda. That its aim is to provide for the recognized marriages in Uganda, registration of those marriages, the issue of marital rights and obligations, and even talks about conversion of from one form of marriage to another form of marriage. It deals with the property rights. It talks about separation and dissolution of marriage, among so many other different issues as we are going to be talking about. And so today, this being a program that seeks to empower men, challenge them, equip them, inspire them, encourage them to expand their family leadership capacity for national transformation, we believe that this proposed bill in Parliament is very relevant for the greater good of this very program. And so our topic today is the straight talk about the proposed marriage bill 2024. And in studio with me to share very important nuggets of wisdom, create more awareness, and have a discussion that is a straight talk about this bill is none other than two wonderful friends who have been hosted here before on this very program. The first one is our brother, Mr. Johnny Teraho, a former district education officer, currently serving in the educational world at the World Vision International, but also the head of Leyte for the whole province of the Church of Uganda. And secondly is Engineer Stephen Langa, the Executive Director of Family Life Network. Here we are to have a straight talk about the proposed new marriage bill 2024. You are very welcome, our dear viewers, and my brothers, you're so welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Samuel Bakutana. Thank you for the kind introduction. Good evening, viewers, and nice to be here again.
Would you like to go ahead and say something more about yourself, your family, your work?
My name is John Terraho, and Samuel Bakutana has just introduced me. I am an educationist, and he said I work in this World Vision, but I actually retired from World Vision.
You've retired finally?
Yes.
After a long time of service?
No, I am the education advisor for Save the Children now.
Yes, yes.
And I also participate in the Church of Uganda as the provincial head of Leyte. I come from the Diocese of Mabura, where I'm also head of Leyte. I have been married for 35 years.
Only?
Only. 35 years.
Wonderful.
My beautiful wife.
Yes.
And we are parents of 4 adult children. We already have 3 grandchildren. And we are doing very well.
Yes.
I love the Lord. That is what is very important, more important than everything else. I love the Lord. I respect family, and I work very hard for anything that will promote the sanctity of the family.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that work that you have been doing to ensure that the sanctity of the family is respected. Engineer Stephen.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me again.
Yes.
The last time I was here, we had not yet made 40 years.
Yes.
But I'm in marriage, but I'm glad to report that on August 18th, my wife and I celebrated 40 years in marriage.
Wow.
Yes. And as though that was not enough, we used that same function to also celebrate my 70th
birthday. Yes.
So I'm 7 years old.
John seems to be shocked.
I'm not surprised because recently I was I went for some small medical checkup, and so as usual, you know, they take the temperature. And
Yes.
how old are you? I said 7 years. The nurse looked at me and looked at me intently.
Yes.
How old are you? I said 7 years.
Yes.
So I refused.
70 years cannot be this young.
You know.
I refused. Up to the time I left,
Yes.
she refused. I don't have. But,
Wow.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah.
So married to Beatrice.
Yes, to Beatrice, and we have 2 adult children.
Yes.
And 3 grandchildren.
Wow.
Yeah, so we are grandparents.
Yes.
Thank God for that.
Yes.
And you know, this is so exciting because during that celebration, our marriage fellowship, and you know, we thank God that God gave us the grace to start the concept of marriage fellowship in this country in the 1990s. Yes. So right now we attend a marriage fellowship where we live.
Yes.
The marriage fellowship offered us an all expense paid holiday, honeymoon holiday for
Renewed honeymoon.
Renewed holiday for the 40 years to Bangkok, and so we went and spent 9 days
Wow.
in a 5-star hotel in Bangkok.
Wow.
I'm telling you. I mean,
Does your marriage fellowship still welcome some new members?
but everybody wants to come to our marriage.
I'm telling you.
I think my marriage,
This is amazing.
my marriage fellowship was hard.
First make 40 years. Okay. It seems it's 40.
I'm getting close.
Yes,
So
yes.
wonderful. Honestly, I mean, we were just blown away.
I can
We
imagine.
were blown away.
No, this is huge. This is huge. And that's a celebration of marriage.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad you're sharing that because that's very, very pertinent and extremely relevant to the discussion we are having today
That's right.
as we talk about the new proposed marriage bill.
Absolutely.
So, we are not talking about something we don't know
No.
today. We are talking about something we know.
And you know, for me, Sam,
Yes.
for 10 years, my wife and I led a marriage fellowship.
Yes.
We saw every shade of marriage problem. We saw every shade of family problem. We saw every shade of parenting problems. We've seen it.
Yeah.
And we've seen what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's why on this bill, there are few of us who
Yes.
can speak with very much authority.
With confidence,
With
knowing what they are
confidence.
talking about.
Absolutely.
Amazing. So we have 40 years of marriage on my right hand side. We have 35 years of marriage on my right hand side. Guess what? We have 15 years here
Wow.
of marriage.
Yeah.
We are coming.
All together, I mean, yeah.
90
Those are, eh?
90, yeah.
Oh yes.
Oh, yes.
Combined experience of 90 years of marriage today on this program by God's grace.
Wow.
And friends,
moreover,
yes.
marriages, yes.
Good marriages, thank you.
Yes.
Happy,
Absolutely.
beautiful marriages. That makes a difference. So, let's get exactly to where the rubber hits the road. Many times when people are having these kinds of discussions, they want to quickly go to what they quote unquote criticize, complain about, do not like. I would like us not to be like them. So, let me begin with you, John. What is good in this bill? Share some of the things that are good in this proposed marriage bill 2024. And then Engineer Stephen will also add a few more that he has realized are good things in the marriage bill.
Thank you very much, Samuel. It's quite very interesting listening to Engineer Langa
Yes.
and listening to you. It's also very motivating to listen to other people, in giving testimonies about their marriages.
Yes.
We have we've walked, long distances, sometimes bumpy journeys.
Yes.
But here we are. So marriages are supposed to grow and be celebrated.
Yes, yes.
Marriages are not supposed to be dissolved. Marriages are not supposed to be destroyed, discontinued. Marriages are supposed to last. They are supposed to grow. They are supposed to be nurtured. And it's actually very good. Now the society we are in has leadership. I am coming to your question. It has leadership. But this leadership makes laws. But these laws originate from the Word of God. There is no law in any part of this world that does not have a link with the laws of God.
Is that so?
Yes. We start with the Ten Commandments. When you begin with the Ten Commandments, you even go to the Mosaic books, Leviticus and all those, Deuteronomy, all those books.
Oh, those are legal discussions.
They are legal discussions.
Thou shalt not.
Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not tell lies, thou shalt... There is nothing that we are talking about that it is not in the word of God. So that's where we are. It is right for us to have a law. But I want us also to bear in mind what is written in 1 Timothy chapter 1 from verse 5 to verse 10. Somewhere when you read that, you really appreciate who the laws are meant for. What the laws are meant for. Laws are meant, they're meant for. And even when you read Galatians, you will actually see, that those people who have got the spiritual, fruits of the spirit, the law would not, there's no law against them. So that's where we should be going. That's the direction we should be taking. When you read what Timothy was talking about, especially in verse 9 and 10, you actually notice that laws need to be there, but they are meant for specific people. They are meant for criminals. They are meant for...
Maybe we should read it so that we get to know what you are talking about. Let me read it because you've made me curious about it. I have it here. 1 Timothy chapter 1 verse 5 to 10. It says, now the purpose of the law is love from a pure heart. The purpose of the commandment is love from a pure heart, from a good conscience, and from sincere faith. From which some, having strayed, have turned aside to idle talk, desiring to be teachers of the law, understanding neither what they say nor the things which they affirm. But we know that the law is good if one uses it lawfully.
The law is good if one uses it lawfully.
Then verse 9.
And that is the point I want to... You can actually... But the law is good if it is used lawfully.
Okay, let's complete it. Then verse 9. Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous person, but for the lawless and insubordinate, for the ungodly and for sinners, for the unholy and profane, for the murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers, for fornicators, sodomites, kidnappers, liars, perjurers, and if there is any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine, according to the glorious gospel of the blessed God, which was committed to my trust.
Thank you so much. The law is made. The law is
good if one uses it lawfully.
Used lawfully. So the marriage law is good. The marriage law is good. If we take the form, it is good. Because the last law we have about the existing law we have is of 1904. So we need a current law which would simplify, which would define the types of marriages, which would have to simplify, registration of marriages, which will have to provide marital rights because we are parents of sons and daughters. We like our children to get into marriages which are respectable. But the desired end of every marriage is not being governed by a law. It is being governed by the goodness in a marriage.
Okay. So I would like you to pause a little bit there, and I get to Stephen.
Yes.
To now take us to some of the specifics that you would say, Engineer Stephen, that you agree with John that there is some goodness in this proposed marriage bill.
Okay, that is really for looking for. Yes, it's for looking for to see what is good there. But before, I just need to take you a little bit back and look at the big picture. Every law has a spirit behind it.
Yes, not just the letter of the law, but also the spirit of the law.
Spirit behind it. Every law has an ideology and worldview
Yes.
behind it. Every law has a destination.
What it wants to achieve finally.
Exactly, and where it is taking the nation, where it is taking society. See, every law has all those things. So, one shouldn't just look at the law and say, oh, what does it say? Do you do this or you don't do this? You need to see behind what is driving that law.
Yes.
Of what is being said. So those are the things that matter. And to me, those are bigger questions than what is good or what is bad, you know, and so on. Yeah, because you may see some good things, and then you may say, okay, this one is bad. Let's change it. Let's change it. But you will change that, and the last question is this: this plane is going to Johannesburg. So yeah, that's the destination of it. But then you come and say, this plane, I think let us just change the color of it. Let's change the color. It is now red. Let's change it to blue or to yellow, to whatever. You can change the yellow. In others, you can do the cosmetic changes, but still this thing is taking the direction or the destination of Johannesburg or Cape Town. Meaning that if the thing fundamentally is flawed, okay, if it is fundamentally flawed, then no matter how much, you know, polishing and all this, cosmetic changes, you won't change anything. Still, it will take you to the direction where it was originally intended to take you. And that is why I have a problem.
Now, a few of the specifics. This bill really brings out the types of marriages. So it brings out clarity on the types of marriages in this country. It brings out the registration process for marriages. It actually simplifies the registration processes. Because now it is easier for marriages to be registered. You don't have to come to the registrar here at the Uganda Registration Services or to go to the cow. You know, it is being proposed that we can actually decentralize the registration to the sub-county, which makes it really easy, which makes it possible. This law also brings out issues around, you know, marriage gifts, how we need to be managing this. There are people who are using this process and they are making it difficult for our young people to get married. Because they think there's an opportunity to earn, they think there's an opportunity. And this really, you know, it helps us to create some clarity. It also, you know, tries to deal with those people who these young people who con each other. You know, the breach to the promise to marry. And some of those other things. You find people are there, they are trying. You find somebody is trying. Stephen is trying. Trying. You are not a good example. So trying some 3, 4, 5 people. All of them are paying her fees. And then finally you find we are dealing with young people who need to be brought to order. There are also some people out here who are masquerading. You just go to a home and you find somebody say, you know, conducting a marriage. Conducting a marriage. You ask yourself, who is this person conducting a marriage? Where do they get the authority? Where do they, you know, somebody.
So the law addresses that also, the proposed bill.
And the law is really very good at the marriage of a child.
Okay, it prohibits child marriages.
It brings out all those. So those are some of the specific good things.
Okay.
Unfortunately, as my brother Stephen said, somewhere you just look at the spirit and you want to interrogate the motivation. So whereas it is talking about the spirit, it is talking about the types of marriage, which is in section, I can be very specific. I've
Yes.
through this,
Me too, I have a copy here.
Yes. It comes out in Article 3 on recognized marriages.
Yes.
And subsection, the subsection G says, and any other type of marriage. So
in other words, it talks about the different recognized marriages: Baha'i, Christian, civil marriage, Hindu marriage, customary marriage, Islamic marriage, and then it says, and any
other type of marriage
as may be recognized by the minister by statutory instrument.
Now we have a very good Minister of Justice. We even have a very good President. But this law is going to live beyond these guys. So what if we got a man, a minister, a man or a woman who believes that it's okay to marry a crocodile? And this person is going to say a marriage between a person and a crocodile is okay. So this one definitely is something I would not accept.
Okay, so this specific section that says that the minister can actually determine which other kind of arrangement is also called a marriage.
The other day, our parliament passed a law, the anti-homosexuality. But we have Ugandans who have been going to court.
Yes.
And tomorrow, God forbid, if we don't have a sane government, we might have another government, and these guys will come up and say, wait a minute. The other one was, it was the dictatorship of the numbers, and now this marriage should be accepted.
Okay.
So let us not create loopholes in a good law.
Okay.
Even this one, this other section, subsection H, it says a marriage conducted in accordance with the laws of another country. Where the
that can also be a type of marriage.
Where the laws of the country are in conformity with the laws of Uganda. So what do you need this? Since you have already defined the types of marriage in Uganda, do you need this?
To say that also we can have a marriage conducted in accordance with the laws of another country.
So why don't you say that a marriage conducted in another country must fall within the 6 categories if it is to be accepted in Uganda?
Okay.
I am not a lawyer, but I am an adult
who uses common sense
of a sober mind. Sober mind.
Yes.
I don't need to have gone to a law school to actually interpret that.
And you're not drunk. When was the last time you tested alcohol?
Last time I tested alcohol was 27 years ago.
27 years ago.
So
really, it's already out of your system. You are sober.
I'm very sober.
Yes.
I'm very sober.
Okay.
So that is it. And it provides for marriages. Civil marriage, for example. Civil marriage. We know civil marriage is supposed to be monogamous. The existing laws provide for a monogamous civil marriage. But somebody is saying potentially polygamous. They are changing it.
That is in clause 4, section 1, which says a civil marriage shall be potentially polygamous.
Yes. So why are they moving it? Friends, we have daughters and sons. I am very sure and almost 100% sure, a good percentage, that none of us would love our daughters to be a third wife, to be a fourth wife, a fifth wife, or a second wife. There's nothing more abusive than actually, it's a vote of no confidence in this woman. I have been married to Elizabeth. I can't imagine how much sacrifice that beautiful woman has made into our marriage. And so when I bring another one, it's like, Elizabeth, you are no longer useful to me.
Yeah.
And how can you say you are protecting women, you are promoting women equality? Look at the justification somewhere. The justification is that the laws have, the courts have made judgments against discrimination.
Where are we? Where are we?
On this second page.
Okay, yes.
And they are saying that on equality and non-discrimination against women.
Yes.
I mean, it is it is not only discriminatory to women, it is actually demeaning.
Yes, belittling of their dignity.
And blatant belittling of women to marry, to get other women on top of them.
Okay, so for us to have this clarity, the point that you are raising that is a serious issue that we must be concerned about this bill is in clause 4, section 1, where the civil marriage has always been monogamous, but now this proposed bill proposes that it shall be potentially polygamous. That's the serious issue.
Yes.
Okay.
So what is the motivation? What is the motivation?
And what is the spirit behind
What is the spirit
Yeah.
behind it? What is the spirit behind it? You see, when you are doing things, the Christians, especially in the revival spirit,
Yes.
we had what was called mushana.
You're walking in the light,
Walking
like
in the light.
speaking
Oh, yeah.
openly, transparently,
Walking.
bringing out the truth.
Yeah.
Walking in the light. What is the spirit behind this idea of changing it from
Monogamous, to potentially polygamous. I would like you to pause a little bit.
Yes.
And I would like to bring in Stephen to also add like 2 more other serious concerns that you have that we should be focusing on in this bill, and then I will come back to you to add a few more in case there will still be more.
Okay. There's a section that says that if a man has a child outside of marriage, let's say a man is married in a monogamous marriage,
Yes.
and then he happens to get a woman outside there pregnant. Once that child is born, then the courts are going, or the law rather, this law is going to presume that there was a marriage.
Oh, so that is the presumption of marriage.
Exactly.
Whereby even if you have not been officially married anywhere,
yes.
as long as you made someone pregnant,
Exactly.
then they presume that you are married people.
Exactly. And that presumption will handle child care as well as property. So somebody from outside will now come and start to infringe on your property. That's one of the clauses. Then another
Presumption.
clause, yes, and another one which is really, really serious. The one which talks about irretrievable reasons. You know, in other words, this marriage, there's no way you can repair this marriage. Yes. That one is actually tantamount to what is called no-fault divorce. In other words, a married person can just wake up one morning, I think, I'm tired of this woman, or as a woman, I'm tired of this man, and just goes and files for divorce, and whether there's a reason, just say, for me, this thing is beyond retrieving. Yes. That is actually what is happening there in the West, which they call no-fault divorce. Where before you couldn't just go and divorce somebody anyhow like that.
Yes.
Yeah, but this one now, actually, it makes marriage like a taxi, where you just jump in
And they jump out.
and then jump out. Yeah, Masao, yeah, and you jump out. And that is really playing with marriage. Marriage is not a joke. Marriage is not something you just enter and then one day when you feel differently, you get out of it. Yeah, that's very, very dangerous. And those are things that are going to take our country and our society in a very, very bad situation. Another one, where divorce from another jurisdiction can be accepted here. In other words,
What do you mean exactly?
all right, what I mean is this. When you are here and divorcing from here is very, very difficult.
In Uganda.
In Uganda, you
Yes.
can't get a divorce. And yet in London, it is easy to divorce.
So
You
easy.
just go to London and divorce your spouse from there.
Yes.
Yeah. And once it is done outside there, then automatically the Uganda.
It applies here.
Exactly. I mean, that is playing with marriage. You are playing with marriage.
And that is watering down our own law.
mean,
because if your own law does not accept something,
Yes,
but
and
because it's been done now abroad, somebody who comes here
Yeah.
is now presumed
Yeah.
to have done it. Then that means that your law is not strong enough.
I mean, it's really bad. And you see, all this, and as I was saying, what is the spirit behind this? All these are the spirit which want to make marriage very easy to divorce.
Yes.
Yeah, very easy to divorce. And yet, true marriage is not something to just get in and get out. That's not marriage. That is a joke. Yeah, that's a game. And let us not play with marriage. Yes, let's not play with marriage. Let's play games, let's play soccer and other things, but let's not play with marriage. And that's why I feel very strongly over this law. Because if we play with this law, we can damage our nation.
I hear you. Thank you. So, back to you, John. What are some of the other serious issues that we must be concerned about in this proposed bill?
Now, we are talking about marriage, the issue of consent.
Yes.
We have had areas where two young people would like to get married and the parents become problems.
Yes.
A parent says, you can't marry a Muganda, you can't marry a Mnyarwanda.
You can't marry in that family.
You can't marry in that family. The children will love one another.
Yes.
They would like
Genuinely.
to get married. Genuinely. They have worked together. And you are saying, no, you can't. And so that is something we need to rethink.
Exactly.
I think parents, we need really to give up on this.
Absolutely.
Because we are in an era when children, if they have really loved one another and they are ready to marry, let's give them an opportunity. That's how we can become a nation. I would really think that consent of the parents, really, I think it's okay. It's a good thing.
But should not be a requirement.
But parents have stood in the way of children.
Yeah. So what does the proposed bill exactly say?
The proposed bill says that a marriage, a Christian marriage, must be done. It will only be celebrated with the consent of parents.
Oh, that is clause 5, section D.
Section
Yes,
D.
that a Christian marriage shall be with the consent of the parents to the parties.
Yes, and I'm also concerned about D, about E. It is E, which says that a Christian marriage would be ceremonized by a licensed registrar of the marriage in a public place of worship or in a place approved by the Registrar General.
Yes.
Somewhere when you read this law, the other marriages do not require, they can be conducted anywhere.
Oh yes, like the Islamic marriage, just be in their sitting room and it's done. They do the nikah.
And the registrar does not need to know.
Yes.
I don't know why the law is being tough on the Christian marriages. So I would like somebody to really interrogate. The Christian marriages, somebody is getting tough that the approved registrar. Let me tell you how the devil attacked Europe. The devil started with the family. And they told members of the family, stop reading the Bible. So they destroyed the culture of reading the Word of God. And somebody is also convincing us that the Bible cannot be a basis of raising families, of marriages. Marriages were ordained by God. Marriage was started by God in the Garden of Eden when he brought Eve. When he said it is not good for a man to be alone, let us make
a helper, suitable helper.
A helper suitable for.
Exactly.
That was the beginning of marriage. And now there are some people who are saying, no, you can pick somebody from the road, be with them for 1 week, and you can as well let them go. So marriage, people are trying to make it casual. And that is why in the registration of marriages, they are even proposing that a registrar of marriages may nominate a person knowledgeable in the custom, practice, or rites of a particular type of marriage to officiate at a marriage ceremony.
That is clause 32, section 9. That a registrar of marriage may nominate any other person who can carry out the marriage on his behalf.
So tomorrow we are going to have a registrar of marriages. He is going to have a secretary or an office messenger.
A driver. Says today I'm busy. You go and wait those guys.
I know what is happening in this country. I belong here. I belong to this country. I'm 62 years. I have been in public service, I have been, in public. This cannot, we cannot risk this one.
Absolutely.
We cannot risk this one.
Absolutely.
Friends, we are trying to have marriage as something casual. My brother Stephen has said marriage is not a casual undertaking.
No.
It is a very serious covenantal commitment between a man and a woman.
Absolutely. And you see, marriage is the foundation of family.
Of course.
And family is the foundation of the nation.
Of the society.
Yes.
Of the society.
Yes.
So you play around with the marriage, you have actually messed up the whole society.
So the motivation, Sam, when you look at the section which is providing for property sharing, you actually get a feeling that the motivation for this bill is legitimizing marriages of the very powerful people in this country.
Say that again.
Legitimizing marriages of the very powerful people in this country
who are in wrong forms of
they
marriage.
Are in the wrong.
Yes.
They are cohabiting.
Yes.
They are grabbing other people's husbands.
Yes, including an MP that I know who has disorganized the marriage of my neighbor.
Oh, really?
Yes, my neighbor.
They are disorganizing families. They are disorganizing families, and I want to rebuke them. And these guys are grabbing other people's husbands. They are grabbing other people's wives. They have money. They are procuring men and women.
Yes.
And they want the country to legalize their marriages.
Yes.
Because, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. And I do not want to be part of that. And I am saying this without any fear of contradiction.
Definitely.
I have no fear at all. I am saying this is not right. That's why they are saying cohabiting, they are making it illegal. Because they are cohabiting, so they want to coerce those people with whom they are cohabiting.
To force.
They are forcing them. They want to force them to marry them. To register their marriages.
Can you imagine? No, this
and that's why they are suggesting, somewhere recently, that's why they are suggesting that civil marriages can now become potentially
polygamous. Yes.
Because then they know that the men with whom they are sleeping, they are not cohabiting yet.
Yes.
Because those men are married, those women are married, and they know. So they want to make sure. But
that is
that their marriages are recognized.
And John,
that is terrible.
I have read this
John and Engineer Stephen.
Yeah.
After saying that, that raises an issue of clause 39. Clause 39 in this proposed marriage bill 2024 talks about conversion of marriage. Conversion of marriage, and section 1 says a marriage contracted under this act may be converted, subsection A, from monogamous to potentially polygamous, or subsection B, from potentially polygamous to monogamous if the husband has only one wife by a declaration made by, and so on and so forth. So I don't know what you say about that, Stephen, the issue of conversion of marriage. What do you say about that?
First of all, people need to understand this, that clause 39 makes it possible to convert even a Christian marriage
into a polygamous arrangement.
Absolutely. A Christian man marries today and then wakes up tomorrow and think, I think I could do Yes, let me convert my marriage. I think I can get that.
Because the law allows me to do it.
Absolutely. That woman, the wife can go nowhere.
Yes.
Because the law already allows for that.
So does that protect the woman?
Of course it does.
Because one of the reasons being given for this proposed bill is that it is to protect women.
Look,
How?
Look, I think I need to say this at this point.
Remember, our topic today is straight talk about the proposed marriage bill.
Yes, I need to say this. You see, sometimes legislators can intend, can have good intentions, but then what they do can totally be different and can actually mess the situation. Instead
good intentions, bad approaches.
Bad approaches. And approaches which actually infringe or cross foundational lines. Because you see, you need to understand that there are natural laws which govern the physical universe.
Yes.
But there are also moral laws that govern human behavior.
Which sometimes are not written somewhere, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, they may not be written.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. But the thing is that they work just as the law of gravity works. Similarly, the moral laws also work. So if you cross moral laws, you know, the lines of moral laws, then consequences are going to happen. So you may have good intentions to try to cure something, but then, and you violate a moral law, then the inevitable is going to happen. The consequences, the negative consequences are going to happen, and you will not achieve what you are planning to achieve.
Yeah.
So that's very, very important.
I hear you.
Realize. Yeah.
Now, this proposed bill, Clause 15, Section 2, it says that the minister shall, through regulations, prescribe premarital counseling guidelines. I would like to hear from you. In your view, do you think the minister of government, a politician, is the right person who has the prerequisite competence needed to prescribe what should be in premarital counseling syllabus or curriculum for people who are going to wed? What do you think?
Well, I wouldn't have a problem with that. The minister is the political head of a ministry. He has a whole technical team. So he would ask the technical team to develop those guidelines, and the minister would issue those guidelines. So he would be the one.
So you would be okay with the ministry putting together premarital counseling syllabus and send it to you in the church to implement?
I think the law prefers the minister.
But what do you prefer?
My expectation is that any policy document that comes from the Ministry of Education, where I work, which I'm familiar with,
yes,
is usually issued by the minister. But doesn't mean that she's the one who prepares it. She has a whole technical team that prepares that document. Definitely they will explain to her, she will be convinced, she will take it to the cabinet, and the cabinet will say, yes, go ahead and issue it. But because it cannot come out without the approval of cabinet. So once the cabinet has approved, then that becomes a government document, and the ministry owns it by the minister, and the minister is the one who really releases it. I wouldn't have a very big problem.
So would you, just for us to put this in perspective, would you equally find it okay if the Ministry of Ethics and Integrity, the Religious Affairs Department, brings out the preaching schedule and the topics for sermons in churches, and the minister prescribes and sends it to churches for preachers to use in the pulpits, since it is a religious department under the Ministry of Ethics, and this is a minister, something to do with the faith and doctrine.
Can I advise here?
That's not
But what's now different here? Because when we say premarital counseling, definitely we are talking about the doctrine of marriage, the faith of marriage, the tenets of strong marriages, for example, the Christian marriage. So why would you find that to be okay for the minister to prescribe premarital counseling?
Samuel, let me jump in.
Oh, okay, all right.
Let me jump in.
Yes, Engineer Steve.
We need to understand that there are three institutions that were ordained by God. The family,
yes,
the church,
yes,
and the state.
The family, the church, and the state.
Yeah. Now, each of these has its own job description before God. And each of these, none of them can do the work of the other. Yes. The government cannot do the work of the family, and vice versa. The church cannot do the work of family or government, and vice versa. Each has its own jurisdiction. And in a stable society, all these three need to be functioning well as they were programmed and intended by God to function. All right? There you have a stable society. So the government, it will be overstretching. All right? Overstretching. If they went to start prescribing. In fact, it's good you brought that example. Like now, the government
the preaching
the preaching schedule. And by the way, for your information, this has ever happened in history. It happened during the time of the Reformation.
Yes.
Because you see, during the time of the Reformation, when Martin Luther and his colleagues began to bring the truth, because you see, the church at that time was connected with the government. You know? Yeah, they were together. And so, John Calvin, he was a French guy, and because he was persecuted, he fled from France to Geneva. And of course, because he was among the reformers, he knew that these three entities have different jurisdiction. Guess what he found in Geneva? In Geneva, the government was the one deciding who can have Holy Communion.
Oh,
and
wow.
Who cannot, yes, and who cannot have Holy Communion.
Wow.
And Calvin said, no, no, no.
So I am sure the members of the opposition were not allowed to have Holy Communion.
So Calvin was like, guys, no, government, you have overstretched.
Your mandate.
Yes, your mandate. This is the church's role. Yeah. And this is what can happen if these three entities, if people don't know where each one's mandate reaches and where the other one starts.
And that's why I was asking about this issue of the premarital counseling.
Absolutely.
I really hear you. I think the premarital counseling guidelines should be developed by the institutions that lead those different types of marriage.
So the Hindu marriage leaders should have their premarital counseling guidelines. The Christian priests should have their Christian premarital counseling. The Muslims should have. The whole principle here is that each of those should ensure they have some sort of premarital engagement to equip the people who are going to get wedded, to prepare them for the marriage. But not the minister prescribing what should be in the premarital counseling. Yet this is a matter of doctrine and faith.
Absolutely. But
yes,
it is very much the government's role to make sure that they keep the register of all the married people in the country.
Yes.
Because they must know which man is for which woman and vice versa.
And that's what many people don't want.
No, the government must have that.
Yes.
Because
why is it important?
It's so important because marriage has so many implications. Has a property, has inheritance, has children, and all the rest of it. So the government must know that this man and this woman are together. Therefore, if somebody is trying to take somebody else's wife, the government should come in.
What if the government leader is the one doing that?
Well, then they failed their mandate.
Some minister, somewhere.
They failed their mandate. Okay, they failed their mandate, and that's why they need to be held accountable. Yes, and that's why they need to be voted out.
And I think this proposed marriage bill should be a political issue for 2026. We should watch which MPs are supporting which clauses of this proposed marriage bill, and if any MP is supporting a clause or a section in this proposed bill that is intended to destroy a family, he should not be voted back into the parliament in 2026.
Some before you get to that point, I wanted us very briefly to recognize that the other motivation for this law is actually in respect to property.
Absolutely.
Sharing property.
Yes.
When you read from Article 45.
From Article 45.
60, there are 15 articles.
Actually, no. Actually, up to Article 61, not even 60. 45 to 61 is about property.
There are 16 articles. They are meticulous in respect to property.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest causes of domestic violence in our country and in the world is the management. It is actually the control of means of production.
Yes.
So if you are to end domestic violence in families, the best thing you need to do is to resolve the issue of family property.
Yes. Because people disagree over who should be in charge, over who should, sell the cow and keep the money, over who should sell the matoke and keep the money, over who should make a decision on land or trees, and they start fighting and kill each other. So could you say that that's a good thing that this proposed bill is helping out?
Good idea, but the spirit, the spirit is the one. The spirit brings in things that are dangerous.
Yeah, because 45 talks about types of matrimonial property. 46 talks about matrimonial property to be owned in common.
Look at Article 48.
48 talks about the capacity to acquire individual
A
property.
spouse in any form of marriage recognized under this act
Yes.
shall have the capacity to acquire his or her own
Individual property during the subsistence of the marriage.
During the subsistence of the marriage. You men, how many men in this land, how many women in this land would like to live in a marriage like that?
That's not a marriage.
Where somebody,
yes.
where somebody goes and looks for a lawyer and they just go and buy their property,
Yes.
and they are buying of the property, they are doing whatever, does not concern you. What kind of marriage do these guys want to create for this country?
So the woman goes this side, gets their own
And buys her
property,
own
the man
property.
goes this
And
side,
the man
gets their
does
own
not buy
property.
property.
That's not a marriage.
Individual
They are living
owned-
as singles.
You hear, individually owned property shall not be taken into account for purposes of distribution of matrimonial property
Wow.
under this act, unless there is an agreement to the contrary. Let me tell you, somebody is evil. You can't think like this. I am sorry about this.
No, this is straight talk.
It's straight talk. You cannot have.
Unfortunately, we just have 5 minutes to end this
You cannot have
program.
a
It's
marriage
like we have.
where a man
This is
will go to Lira or Kisoro and buy property. That's not a business for the wife. I am able to buy my property. Go and buy yours.
Wow, and you claim you are married.
That's not a marriage.
That you can't make.
And that's why, Engineer Stephen,
That's not a
I would
marriage.
like you to, just in half a minute, give your comment about specifically 47, clause 47, that introduces prenuptial and postnuptial agreements. That two persons in contemplation of a marriage may, before or during the subsistence of a marriage, execute a prenuptial or postnuptial agreement to provide for the ownership of property. Individually acquired before or during marriage, jointly acquired. So in other words, first make an agreement and say, I own this, you own this, before we come into this marriage. So in case we divorce, you will take this, I will take this. So now can we get married? Let's now start the marriage. What do you say about that?
I'm just saying that is not a marriage. That is a joke. That is a joke, and that is a business. And that's why for me, really, this whole thing. Because when we get married, we swear, all that I have, I give to you.
Exactly.
And the other person also, all that I have, I give to you. My wife and I, for our last 40 years, we own everything in common. We have joint account. And it is joined in such a way that any one of us can go and withdraw the money.
Okay.
My wife can go and withdraw and run away. I can withdraw and run away. But that's what marriage is all about. That's
Trust.
what trust.
The foundation of trust.
Yes, that's what covenant is all about.
Look at the liability, section 51. I mean Article 51. Liability incurred before marriage. Liability incurred by the spouse before marriage relating to the property shall after the marriage remain the liability of
The spouse who incurred it, it's no longer a marital issue.
I mean, this is a joke.
Okay, friends,
Yeah.
we have really gone the length to highlight the many different things that should be points of concern for everybody who really is interested in understanding what's going on with this proposed bill. And in only less than 1 minute, I would like you to share as we close this program, my brother John, going forward, who needs to do what? Just in only 1 minute as we end this program.
Well, we have raised our voices.
Yes.
We are raising our voices, and we are going to continue raising our voices. We expect that this bill will not be passed in this form.
Okay.
It's good. Having a marriage law is okay, but the contents of the marriage law, if we had enough time, there are so many other things we have not looked at.
Yeah.
But we are going to pull them out and take them to the parliamentary committee, and we are asking the parliamentary committee to be, to make a good law. As the Bible says, a law is not good until it is lawful.
Okay.
For me, what I would say, and by the way, we have already, as Family Life Network, we have already taken our submission to the committee. We met them last week, and we presented.
Okay.
So they have our thoughts, and I went there with the delegation, and of course for us, we go there representing parents, representing families, are representing children,
Okay.
yes, of our nation. And with the due respect, what we told them is that this law should be scrapped and a brand new law needs to be made where the key stakeholders who understand what marriage is are involved right from the beginning of its formulation.
Okay.
That's the law that now will come.
Yes.
And we will accept.
I hear you.
Samuel, I want to tell you, I work with Save the Children.
Yes.
And you cannot save children unless children grow in a family. And a family is a place for a husband and wife and children living in a state of harmony. We cannot have children cannot be saved, children cannot grow, they cannot survive and flourish in broken families.
Yeah.
They cannot.
Okay.
So, and by the way, I must say this. That
just in 20 seconds.
It has been proven, all council research, that a stable marriage or stable family, which is obviously a stable family, which comes from a stable marriage, brings out the best outcomes for men,
yes,
for women,
and children.
for children.
Yes, I remember that.
In health, in wealth,
yes,
and in well-being.
yeah.
What more do you want?
What more do you
What
want?
more do you want? In other words, stabilized family. You will solve poverty.
Wow.
You will solve development. You will
Health
solve
issues.
Health issues. Now, 30% of Ugandans are mentally whatever because of unhappiness in homes. Yeah, all
hear
that
you.
will be solved.
So, Honorable Sarah Acheng Opendi,
I'm sure she was listening to us. I hope
MP Tororo District, these are the issues. And we would like to sound this clarion call seriously to the Parliamentary Legal Affairs Committee to critically consider these issues before you pass this bill. If you really represent the citizens of this country, listen to their voices. Friends who have been watching this program, we encourage you to pay attention to these things and look at them holistically in totality. Don't just speak out one small clause and say, I love that. As long as they have put that, that's nice. No. What about the rest? I came to understand that rat poison, the poison that kills rats, is 98% nice, harmless food. The real thing that kills the rat is the 2% that is mixed inside the food. The rat comes and starts to eat and enjoys and eats, and the food is harmless until it matches the other 2% and it cannot survive. So don't say it's 98% nice. If they gave you 10 plates of food and they said one of these plates has poison that kills, but we won't tell you, but you just pick any plate at random and eat, would you eat any? You definitely wouldn't. Let us get involved. You've heard that a number of people in the public have been going to the Parliamentary Legal Affairs Committee to present their views. If you are an organized group, put together your views and go to Parliament and air out these views. If you are somebody in the media like I am here, that's why we are having this conversation. Use every platform possible to ensure that we protect marriages, we strengthen families, and transform the nation that we all call our motherland.
Amen.
Until next time, live exemplarily, love authentically, and lead relationally.
Just one wife that you